This was from last week when he had that press conference in the Oval Office, I believe. And he brought out this picture. And look at him show it off like show and tell because he's a 5-year-old.
I thought you'd all like to see it. That's a man named Vladimir Putin, who I believe will be coming, depending on what happens. He may be coming and he may not, depending on what happens. We have a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks. But I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay of me, but nice of him. So that was very nice that it was sent to me. Okay?
Mr. President,
on
that subject, have you talked to Vladimir Putin about the fact that yesterday a big U.S. factory was hit in a Russian airstrike in Ukraine? What's your reaction to that?
I told him I'm not happy about it. And I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. I settled 7 wars, and actually, if you think about pre-wars, add 3 more, so it would be 10. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack in terms of difficulty. No, I'm not happy about anything about that war. Nothing. Not happy at all. We'll see what happens.
He showed a photograph of him standing next to Vladimir Putin at that summit in Alaska with the Russian leader, and dude was just proud of it. I mean, Vladimir Putin looks great, and I mean me okay because I'm a subservient little guy next to him. He showed off a picture that apparently Vladimir Putin sent to him. And he's going to frame it, I guess, and put it somewhere out there because he's acting like people didn't see constant video of them standing next to each other on the red carpet. He's acting like this is some official nice thing. We've seen the videos, bro. It's not like you're breaking any news. But he's impressed that Vladimir Putin sent him a picture, bro. And we'll see what happens. When asked about the constant attacks that have happened since that meeting on an American company that's in the area, I don't like any of it, but we'll see what happens. Here, maybe he can see this happening. Is he seeing what's happening? Because what's happening is, I don't know if you guys saw the date at the top corner of that video of Russian missiles bombing in central Kyiv. That date was August 28th, and oddly, that's today. So as rockets were launched into central Kyiv, an area of 4 million residents, 32 missiles were launched and 598 attack drones sent there. And that was security camera footage that showed those 2 missiles striking this very popular street and damaged residential buildings and the EU diplomatic mission and British consul there as well. 15 people are dead at least, including 4 children. And Donald Trump wants to continue to see what happens. But he's got a picture of him and Vladimir Putin walking around on a red carpet. He's the presentation president. He doesn't know what he's doing. And the little bit that he does know what he's doing is he's carrying Vladimir Putin's water as he continues this same onslaught and have the next meeting and then the next meeting. And then I'll send Steve Witkoff and then I'll see that envoy and then the third envoy. And they'll keep giving me middle fingers and I'll keep saying they're doing a great job and we should give up more. Ukraine should give up more territory because that'll stop him. JD Vance went on TV too. I think it was on the Sunday shows to try and explain this away. I'm not sure if they sent him or he's like, I'll do it. I think I have a good grasp on this, Mr. President, because everything you say is so stupid. People are beginning to realize that you're an absolute sucker. Problem is so is JD Vance. He just doesn't know it.
You talk about concessions, and yet the Russians rejected the ceasefire proposal that President Trump put forward. There's no meeting plan between President Putin and President Zelensky. And this week, Russia targeted an American factory in Ukraine. There were 600 people inside at the time. No one was killed. What makes you think President Putin is serious about peace?
Well, I didn't say they conceded on everything, but what they have conceded is the recognition that Ukraine will have territorial integrity after the war. They've recognized that they're not going to be able to install a puppet regime in Kiev. That was, of course, a major demand at the beginning. And importantly, they've acknowledged that there is going to be some security guarantee to the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Again, have they made every concession? Of course they haven't. Should they have started the war? Of course they haven't. But we're making progress, Kristen. And what I admire about the president in this moment is he's not asking 3.5 years ago. He's not, trying to focus on every nitpicky detail of how this thing started 3.5 years ago. He's trying to focus on the nitpicky details of now.
I take it back. J.D. Vance knows what he's doing. He's just bad at that, too. He doesn't want to focus on those nitpicky details of how this whole thing started. What he wants to focus on is those nitpicky details of what it is that they're still not doing as far as any kind of concessions, any kind of negotiations, any kind of ceasefires. Every time those nitpicky details of him doing the things that they celebrate by holding up pictures of him standing next to Vladimir Putin, it's those nitpicky details that they're still not doing, and you're still just excusing them for, because the objective is to follow behind Vladimir Putin. And again, you guys remember whatever it is that was said in that meeting in Alaska when multiple news outlets, even Fox News, was talking about how he got steamrolled, and they said they walked out and they looked like wide-eyed and surprised and shocked. It was because they steamrolled them. So curious, saying more.
But was President Trump, were you enraged when you learned that Russia targeted an American company based in Ukraine?
I don't
was
like
that not
it,
a slap
Kristen.
in the face
I
to
don't.
the peace
I don't
process?
like it, Kristen. But this is a war, and this is why we want to stop the killing. The Russians have done a lot of things that we don't like. A lot of civilians have died. We've condemned that stuff from the get-go. And frankly, President Trump has done more to apply pressure and to apply economic leverage to the Russians, certainly than Joe Biden did for 3.5 years when he did nothing but talk, but do nothing to bring the killing to a stop. So you ask me what I'm enraged by. What I'm enraged by is the continuation of the war. What I'm enraged by is a presidency and Joe Biden who for 3 years did nothing to end the killing. What I'm actually excited about right now is that we have a president who's engaging in energetic diplomacy to try to stop the killing.
He's not outraged by an American company being targeted. He's not outraged by the continued bombing. What he's outraged by is Joe Biden. He's outraged by Joe Biden because that's the calling card for this administration. Hey, get cornered. If you get cornered in an interview, guys, bring up Joe Biden, because apparently they have this thought process that as long as they say the name Joe Biden, that it's going to excuse them of all the things they're doing. He's excited about the killing ending. That's what he said. J.D. Vance said he's excited that this president is pursuing an ending to the killing. That's what J.D. Vance is excited about, but he wants to talk about Joe Biden. That's what he wants to talk about. So, again, I think as anyone can see, you don't have to be some kind of foreign policy expert. You don't have to be some kind of negotiator. You don't have to be a foreign policy envoy to go and end wars. This war that the president said he was going to end in 24 hours, that now he doesn't really care about that. Same way he doesn't care anymore about finishing these 90 deals in 90 days of his tariff policy, because that's also bullshit too. What it is he's caring about is the ending of the killing. So the last question that was asked of J.D. Vance was, do you think he's being strung along here? Because every time they say they're going to do something and they don't do it, it's followed up by a bomb and an onslaught of killing.
I had the opportunity to speak with the Russian foreign minister.
I heard.
Yes, he says, as of right now, there's no meeting planned between President Putin and President Zelensky. And he added, there needs to be an agenda first, saying, quote, This agenda is not ready at all. Are the Russians stringing President Trump along?
No, not at all, Kristen. I think the Russians have made significant concessions to President Trump for the first time in 3.5 years of this conflict. They've actually been willing to be flexible on some of their core demands. They've talked about what would be necessary to end the war. Of course, they haven't been completely there yet, or the war would be over, but we're engaging in this diplomatic process in good faith. We are trying to negotiate as much as we can with both the Russians and the Ukrainians to find a middle ground to stop the killing.
Nothing. He's not being strung along. He just hasn't been agreeing to anything that he's been saying he's doing as they go along and continue on this war. But listen to Donald Trump tell you he's ended 10 wars because they just make things up. Man, can anyone that supports this administration tell me one thing that they've done right? And not even just because they're making mistakes. They've made 98% of that. The other 2% is the purposeful approach to destroying everything in their way. It's destruction, it's chaos, and it's incompetence on top of it. So he's surrounded himself with more incompetent people, and the people that you don't see, the people that you don't hear from, they're the ones who know what they're doing. They're the ones who have the same agenda as Vladimir Putin. They're the ones who want to take over this country and turn it into a fascist state. They just have a guy at the front of it who's a presentation guy who can look at a picture of him and Vladimir Putin and go, yeah, see this? Maybe you guys haven't seen it. It's nice, isn't it? I look okay, but he looks great. The guy who's killing people looks wonderful. He's my best friend. Did you know?